Yeah. Hello and welcome to New World Review, your source for everything anime, I guess. I never checked with Liam what I'm actually supposed to say here, so I guess I'll just keep doing what I'm doing until he corrects me. Hi, it's me again, Grand Line Waifu, here for episode 2 and 3 of Hunter x Hunter. I'm sorry, that was awful. So, after the last episode, I wasn't exactly sure how to come at this review. I was so desperate to tap the play next episode button because while I'm not a binger, I felt like the chapter of the story wasn't finished, so it took great fortitude on my part to hit pause to discuss it. I guess I'm a fan then. Almost. Sort of. Let's just say that so far I'm enjoying the story. I'm sure you've all seen it before, but just as a heads up, because I know some people may not have, and I don't like spoiling things for people, I'm throwing caution to the winds and yelling out, "Spoiler!" on this. Which, admittedly, I should have done before, but it really didn't occur to me to do so, and I wasn't sure I would keep going with this. But it looks as though, for now, at least, I am. So, beware the spoil monster, and let's go. So, episode 2. I had mixed feelings about this episode. On the one hand, I really enjoyed the ongoing importance placed on emotion and decisions. On the other, Gon is beginning to give me serious creepster vibes. An interesting choice for a 12-year-old. I'll explain what I mean. I got my first indication in this episode that Gon is abnormal. An old woman asks them whether they would sacrifice their daughter or son in a life and death situation, and Gon sits to contemplate the answer. Yes, sure, he has an unbreakable fishing rod, and he's absurdly strong for a 12-year-old, and he has hair that he never touches that seems to maintain very consistent peaks, and he's constantly light-hearted in a way that makes literally no sense. But the thing that strikes me is that Gon is having sacrificial thoughts at all. The old woman notices too. They all notice. At first I was amused he was still considering the question because I thought it was further indication of his buffoonery. Hearing why, though, it made me see him as someone others should probably be worried about. And the sound in this moment followed us, taking a minor turn and heightening the importance of the question. Because as light-hearted as his character is, the other main characters dismiss a philosophical question because of their capacity for empathy. Gon seems able to step away from empathy and into measured judgment. That's important, and it speaks to the ease with which he left Mito in episode 1, despite her obvious concerns. He didn't try to make her feel better about him leaving, which could be dismissed as just an excitable 12-year-old response. Now I think about all the times Gon has interacted with people in what at the time I thought were empathetic ways, and I realized they were just observations. He's an observant kid, and he's a cutthroat kid, and we can't ignore that. It makes him creepy. Whatever his father is, whatever hunters are, they're not normal. And that's kind of what Leorio is. For all his lanky, briefcase-carrying, hoity-toity bravado, he's the moral compass for now, and I really appreciate having that moral compass be so obviously designed to be basically the opposite of Gon. Where Gon is silently calculating an outcome that should be emotionally fraught, Leorio is throwing us through the emotional ringer, joining us in how we feel, but in his own comic way. And I mean, yes, it's comic, but it's also earnest, and as much as I felt he was overdoing it, he's an animation, and that's exactly what he should do. Everything about Leorio is endearing, because despite his desire to be recognized and famous, he seems to have the greatest capacity for empathy and vulnerability, and I respect that, which is quite the shift for me from episode 1 to 2. It seems we don't take long to begin to detail these, on the surface, simple characters. Korabik might be the one I understand the least, because he seems to be the least complicated. He thinks carefully, he's deliberate and stable. Even looking back to his anger in the first episode, he was the measured calm opposite Leorio, and he has yet to have a moment of rashness, which I'm going to want to see the longer he stays calm. He gets mad at the Kiriko Leorio copycat, but it's controlled anger. He gets stern with the Kiriko woman, but not angry. I want to see rage. Give me that rage. And I suppose that's the crux of the matter for me. So far we have one main character carrying the team in terms of actual shifting emotions, Leorio. I'm not sure about everyone else who watches, but that's not something I'm going to be okay with long term. I expect character shifts, I expect emotional strife, or at least that's what I look for and what I hope for when I watch something. I want the characters to be changed by what they experience because I'm changed by seeing them experience. I know it's still very early on and we're just introducing the characters of the world, but still. Speaking of the world, it's clearly very close to ours but broken. The Cybermen are here, for example. I was very confused and disconcerted by the band that started out being a band but only actually consisted of 2 instruments, a raven that called on command and a horn that tooted. I'm not sure we needed the rest of them. I'm not sure we needed a lot of what was in that scene. They were great dressing, I guess, but the majority of that was entirely irrelevant, unless it comes back, in which case you'll hear me make a delicious dinner of my words. What I've noticed as of episode 2 is that that we don't actually have any evil characters. There's no actual people with good or bad intentions. And everyone in the world so far seems to dedicate their entire lives to this hunter test, which I didn't care about after episode 1, but seems to be all anyone thinks about in episode 2. What I would love to be the case, not having seen episode 3 at the point of writing the first half of this review, is for the whole thing to have been a hoax and for there not to actually be a test. At the end of episode 2, a point is made that they're being flown to the starting line. That's what they were told at the end of episode 1 too. 1 also. I wonder how long they can draw out this concept. What I'm missing though, even at this early point, is a feeling of tension. The story is very much there. I'm understanding the characters. I don't understand the hunter exam at all, and I'm happy to go along with it still, but it's all quite mild, which is odd, given everyone keeps saying it's going to be intensely dark. So, this is me saying, hey, I'm ready. Give me the dark stuff. Mess me up. Maybe episode 3 will take us to that dark place because I'm so ready. 20 minutes later. Let's talk about episode 3. Finally knowing about our intrepid main cast, we turned our attention to all the other weird people taking the test, or at least the ones who will probably become, for plot reasons, important. We met our first objectively evil character here, and again, I'm glad there is a show don't tell rule in place. Seeing him dissolve a man's arms in flowers was so much more satisfyingly beautiful than I thought it could be, even though I knew it was unfortunate for the guy who lost his arm. I guess rules are important. Don't shoulder check, and you keep your arms. It also made clear the hunter test is unbound by morality, which is a huge counterpoint to the previous episodes that seem to focus very heavily on the morality of the characters we've followed so far. And it tells me something about the hunter test, which is fantastic. Finally, something. One way to look at this is to make clear our standpoint, the morality that is. We're the good people on the side of the good people. Another way to look at this is to accept and acknowledge how complex our main characters are compared to the characters we're being introduced to now. Are they going to lean into that darkness and become the silhouettes we see in the opening vignette? Will the other characters step out of the stereotypes we were given? Will opening credits guy, Kilua, turn out to be more than a skateboarding dude bra who's suspiciously tolerant of poison? Will our secret not secret ninja turn out to have more than secret not secret ninja powers? As a suspicion here, I think he's actually 2 people, but we'll see. Oh, will smarmy smart kid remain smarmy? Will he wash his hair? I have no idea, I hope so, but how does he run with a laptop open? I've tried. That may be his true skill. And Tonpa. Poor, outmatched Tonpa. What are we to do with him? He seems to be a good measure of failure. The longer he lasts, the worse we can see everyone else is doing. After all, he's been doing this test for 30 odd years and he still seems to be surprised by the newbies. And still seems to be using the same trick he's used for years based on how others treat him. Will Tonpa learn? Probably not. Mechanically, Gon is beginning to look like a Mary Sue. He seems to naturally have a counter to every issue, seems to know a way out of every problem, and seems content to just let things happen. I am instantly suspicious of this, simply because of the previous 2 episodes, but if it turns out that he is in fact an entirely uncomplicated 12-year-old, I will be very unhappy. Talking Moustache Guy takes the award for being the most entertaining person in this episode. My only wish was that he, on turning, had said, "Walk this way." I wish this because I am a pun-loving kind of gal and I alone would have appreciated it. Instead, I was left wanting as his perfectly curled moustache and head horn did all the talking while he did all the walking. Korabik continues to be our thinker, our deep thinker with a serious understanding of the psychological issues involved in every test so far. Leorio continues to be unsure of everything around him. Will that change the longer they're in each other's space? I doubt it, mostly because they have their own stereotypes to stick to, but I'm willing to be surprised. That said, this episode was less about our 3 and more about the vibe of the test and those taking it. Magic has finally been introduced. Magic and strange forces. Having left their home, it's great to see the world beginning to open up in the eyes of the characters, and it's a great setting to have them brought underground to further highlight that the focus of the episode is on the characters and their personalities rather than the broader environment. It would be an interesting exercise to sort each group taking the test into locations. I wonder whether there are similarities in their personalities versus where they're from, but again, that's my inner psychologist talking. As you were. The tension in the room didn't feel particularly present again, and I still get the feeling they know as much as I do about the actual test, which makes sense since it keeps changing apparently. Something I think I'm struggling with still is that lack of tension around the test in general. As such a character-focused show, I should be more invested in how important this test is to them. They're all sort of walking through things quite easily. I get the feeling I could be given more, be it verbally, visually, or through sound design, than I'm getting right now. We keep hearing about money and honor, but it doesn't seem from this episode that either Leorio or Korabik will will be satisfied by the hunters they actually meet in the real world. And without any actual hunters to compare it to, I can't begin to judge whether they would actually enjoy being hunters themselves. Occasional arguments about the importance of being a hunter is wonderful, but it does nothing to make the actual test or why anyone would take it clearer for me, even now that we've started phase 1. And one more thing, where are the women? Girls, females, anyone not masculine. I'm sure people may have problems with me bringing this up, but it still bears mentioning. The only women involved so far that I've seen have been in the helping roles. I am so ready to see some kick-ass women with some super abilities. I'm ready for complexity in those women rather than just boobs, because boobs are great, but they're not so good at holding conversation. Trust me, I've tried. I have hopes because I noticed that Mito wasn't just talking boobs, but I also have extreme doubts about whether this anime will give me anything approaching strength in femme characters or regularity in femme characters. Though I'll be honest and say I very much thought and hoped Korabik was femme in the first episode for all of about 2 minutes. We'll see how things progress, and I'll probably come back to that question since I'm a lady girl myself. For now though, that's all from me. If you enjoyed this video and the content this channel produces in general, please do consider donating to the New World Review Patreon, because the support of all of you amazing people is what continues to make this channel possible. If Patreon isn't quite your style, then please do leave this video a like, share, or subscribe, because it also helps support this channel an incredible amount. And if you'd like to join the fun, then please do head over to the Discord server where a wide array of shenaniganry takes place on a daily basis. And finally, please do comment with your thoughts on Test of Tests and Rivals for Survival, episodes 2 and 3 of Hunter x Hunter. This has been the New World Review, and I'll see you next time.